What if I told you that the future you're waiting for is listening to you? Let's begin with a truth that's often missed, even though it's right in front of us. Your life doesn't change by accident. It doesn't transform because of coincidence. No, life changes because you make a decision, a conscious, intentional choice. And one of the most powerful choices you'll ever make is to change the way you speak. Why? Because words aren't just sounds. They're seeds. Each sentence you release is like a blueprint, carefully sketching out the shape of your future. Yet here's the problem. Too many people are planting weeds instead of wisdom. They casually toss out words like, "I'm unlucky," "I'm not good with people," or "I'll never be successful." And then they wonder why their lives feel tangled, broken, or stuck. But the truth is, they're right. Because the tongue, it's like the rudder of a ship. And if you're steering it with defeat, doubt, and limitation, don't be surprised when you crash into the rocks. You might think, come on, it's just words. But is it? Really? Words evolve into beliefs. Beliefs drive decisions. And decisions, they shape destinies. So no, it's never just words. The way you talk about your problems, your goals, and your potential future isn't harmless background noise. That language is either scaffolding, building the life you want, or it's a wrecking ball, slowly pulling it down. And today, I want to help you change that. I want to hand you a tool so powerful, so transformative, that once you start using it with intention, everything around you begins to shift. Because when you change the way you speak, you start to reshape how you think. And when your thoughts evolve, your world expands. Doors open, habits strengthen, relationships deepen, and a version of your life you never thought possible begins to take shape. That's why I want you to stay close for the next few minutes. I'm going to guide you on how to speak with clarity, with confidence, and with conviction. You'll discover the vocabulary that successful people use, the words of discipline, of drive, of vision. These aren't just phrases. They're habits in verbal form. And when you make them part of your daily language, your life will follow suit. So buckle in and listen with purpose. This isn't just a motivational message. It's a verbal blueprint for a better life. And it all starts with the next word. You choose. Now let's dive even deeper. Because the truth is, words don't just inspire. They either build or break. And the most powerful tool you have at your disposal right now, it's not money. It's not connections. It's not even talent. It's your words. Yes, your words. The way you describe your life, the way you talk to others. And most importantly, the way you talk to yourself. Write this down. Words can build, or words can break. They can construct a bright future or quietly destroy a dream. They can light a fire of courage or they can cast a shadow of fear. They can heal wounds or cause them. One sentence can lift a spirit or crush it completely. So no, words are not cheap, and they're never neutral. They're either carrying life or carrying death. The ancient texts weren't exaggerating when they said, life and death are in the power of the tongue. And I believe, even now, that's absolutely true. Whether you realize it or not, you are speaking things into existence every single day. Your words are like bricks. With every encouraging phrase, you're building something solid. With every sarcastic, negative, or self-defeating comment, you're chipping away at your own foundation. Let me paint a picture. One person mutters, "Nothing ever works for me." And guess what? He's right, because he's fluent in failure. Another says, "I'll figure this out. I don't have the answer yet, but I'll get there." And most of the time, he does, because his words aren't random. They support his mission. Words create motion. They either launch you into action or leave you spinning in a loop of excuses. So, if you're longing for a better life, start by speaking better sentences. I'm not asking you to fake joy or pretend things are perfect. I'm asking you to tell the truth, but tell it in advance. Say, I'm learning every day. Say, I don't have it all together, but I'm growing. Say, yes, I make mistakes, but I don't quit. Because when you speak life, you give life. We ended the last part with a powerful truth. Your words are never neutral. They're always building something or breaking it down. Now let's go one layer deeper, because there's something just as important that we haven't touched on yet. Your words don't just shape your life. They shape the lives around you. Imagine this. A single sentence of encouragement, spoken at the right moment, can completely shift someone's path. I've seen it happen. Maybe you have too. You casually say something kind to someone, maybe even forget it the next day, but that person, they carry it with them for years. It becomes their anchor, their motivation, their reminder that they matter. But the opposite is also true. A careless word of criticism, spoken in frustration or sarcasm, can linger like a wound. It can take someone months to recover. That's why your words aren't just communication, they're influence. Every conversation is a chance to either build someone up or break them down. So here's my challenge to you. Choose to be someone who speaks life. Be known not as the one who always points out the flaws or constantly finds something to complain about. Be the person who lifts others up. Encourage people. Tell them what they're doing right. Speak belief into them when they doubt themselves. Plant words of vision and discipline. Be the kind of voice that echoes in someone's heart long after you've left the room. Let me push this a little further. For the next 24 hours, I want you to become hyper-aware of your language, like a hawk watching every word. Catch yourself in the act. Are you speaking from fear or from faith? Are your words helping you move forward or pulling you backward? Are you focused on the problem or are you speaking solutions? Better yet, make a decision right now. From this moment on, your mouth will no longer be allowed to sabotage your mission. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but I'm just being honest. I'm just saying how I feel, and I get it. Feelings matter. But here's the thing. Just because you feel it doesn't mean you need to say it. Don't just speak your feelings. Speak your focus. Speak your intention. Speak your vision, not your frustration. Talk like the person you're becoming, not the one you've been stuck being. This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about choosing which version of reality you're going to feed, because the part you speak about is the part that grows. And that truth, it's powerful. Your mind is listening. Every word you speak, your brain is taking notes. If you want a sharper mind, use sharper words. If you want more discipline, start by speaking with discipline. If you want to be respected, speak with respect. If you want to inspire others, speak with conviction, with strength, with meaning. That's what it means to speak life. It's not empty hype. It's not motivational fluff. It's a habit. It's a mindset. It's a lifestyle. It's a commitment to build more than you tear down, to lift more than you weigh down, to lead with your words before you ever lead with your actions. So from this day forward, choose words that elevate, words that build, words that don't just push you forward, but pull others upward too. Because here's the truth. Your voice is your megaphone to the world, and whatever you speak into the world reflects right back at you. So speak life, my friend. Your words will either become the foundation of your greatness or the wrecking ball of your potential. And the most empowering part? You get to choose. Because speaking life isn't just about encouragement, it's also about transformation. It's about upgrading the way you talk, not just to others, but especially to yourself. Let's explore what it really means to talk like a winner, because the way you speak each day doesn't just reflect your mindset, it shapes it. So, let's talk about what it really means to talk like a winner. And to do that, we need to look at the contrast. A loser says, I have to go to work. A winner says, I get to go to work. Loser, it's not fair. Winner, what can I learn from this? Loser, it's too hard. Winner, yes, it's hard, but I'm capable. It's a subtle shift, but it changes everything. because every sentence you speak is either shrinking you or stretching you. Every word is quietly training your brain either to retreat or to rise. Here's another key difference. Winners talk about solutions, while losers talk about problems. Pointing out what's broken, that's easy. Anyone can complain. It takes no skill to say this isn't working or this is a mess. But to walk into a situation and say, here's what we can do, that's leadership. That's courage in action. Imagine walking into a room and blurting out, nobody here knows what they're doing. That's not helpful. That's just criticism dressed up as commentary. But if you step in and say, there's a lot of potential here. Let's bring some clarity to this chaos. Now that's the vocabulary of victory. And speaking like a winner doesn't stop there. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Winners speak with clarity. They don't drift through life mumbling vague hopes. They speak with precision. Don't say, I hope I make more money this year. Say, I'm going to increase my income by 25%, and here's how. Don't say, maybe I'll try to get in shape. Say, I'm committed to working out 4 times a week. Clear words create clear lives. Vague words create vague results. That's a truth you can take to the bank. Now, let's talk about tone, because tone tells the truth. If you say, I guess I'll try, in a weak, tired voice, you've already lost the battle. But say, I will with confidence and direction, and suddenly the energy shifts. Your tone trains your subconscious mind. Speak with belief, and your body follows. Speak with doubt, and your spirit deflates before you even begin. And here's something most people miss. Sometimes the most powerful vocabulary is silence. Yes, silence. Winners know when to speak, and they know when to stay quiet. You don't need to answer every critic. You don't have to explain every move. Sometimes silence is your strength. You don't win arguments, you win with results. So if your words aren't building, guiding, or strengthening something, maybe it's wiser to save them. And now let's flip the lens. It's not just about the words you speak. It's about the words you allow yourself to hear. Be careful who you listen to. The language around you eventually becomes the language within you. If you spend your time surrounded by people who gossip, complain, and criticize, don't be surprised when those same patterns start flowing out of your mouth. So be intentional. Surround yourself with people who speak vision, people who challenge you to grow, who push you to be bold, and who speak with clarity and discipline. And if you haven't found those people yet, be that person yourself. Speak like the person who's already living your dream. Winners don't just win through effort, they win through language. They speak in the vocabulary of purpose. They use words of growth, of grit, of ownership, and of gratitude. It's a daily decision to speak with strength instead of scarcity. So today, upgrade your words. Drop the phrases that limit you. Trade out the weak, wishy-washy language. Start speaking like the person who's already stepped into your highest potential, because before you live the life you want, you have to speak it into existence. And if you're not careful, you might be unintentionally cursing your future with something you barely notice, something I call casual negativity. You've heard it. Maybe you've even said it yourself without giving it a second thought. Things always go wrong for me. Knowing me, I'll probably mess this up. Sounds harmless, right? Just a joke, just venting. But let me ask you, how many times? Do you say things like that each week? 5 times? 10? Maybe more? Multiply that by 52 weeks, and suddenly you've spoken over 1,000 little curses over your own life. 1,000 verbal bricks, stacked high into a wall that's separating you from your full potential. See, negative words don't just describe your reality, they direct it. Every sentence you speak is a suggestion to your subconscious mind. And here's the thing, your subconscious doesn't understand sarcasm. It doesn't stop to ask, did they really mean that? It just takes notes. It follows instructions. So when you keep saying, I'm always tired, your mind responds, got it. Let's stay tired. You say, I'm just unlucky. And your brain replies, understood. Let's filter out opportunity. It doesn't question. It obeys. Let me give it to you straight. If you want a better life, you've got to stop speaking curses disguised as jokes. You've got to stop rehearsing failure just to get a laugh. Stop calling it being real when it's really just being reckless, because there's a big difference. Being real says, I've got challenges, but I'm growing through them. Being reckless says, I'm a mess, and that's just who I am. One gives you direction, the other keeps you stuck. One opens a door, the other locks it shut. Here's a powerful truth. Your words are magnets. When you speak doubt, you attract hesitation. When you speak fear, you invite confusion. But when you speak strength, suddenly your posture changes. When you declare hope, opportunities begin to show up. It's not magic, it's mindset in motion. Now don't misunderstand. I'm not asking you to pretend everything's fine when it's not. This isn't about denial, it's about direction. You can say, this is hard, but I'm still standing. You can say, I'm not where I want to be, but I refuse to quit. That's not fake. That's faith-filled clarity. That's being honest and hopeful. Just don't let your mouth become a megaphone for misery. Because the more you talk defeat, the more you expect it. And the more you expect it, the more you unintentionally create it. So what's the fix? You retrain your speech. Catch those casual, automatic comments. Swap them for something that builds instead of breaks. Don't say, I can't afford that. Ask, how can I earn more to make that possible? Don't say, that's just my luck. Say, that's feedback. I'll improve next time. Don't say, I'm terrible at this. Say, I'm learning, I get better every day. Let your words reflect your potential, not just your past problems. Because here's the truth. If you want to go far in life, you have to speak like someone going somewhere, not like someone bitter, not like someone stuck, not like someone waiting for the world to change before they do. Your future is listening to your tone, your attitude, and your declarations. If you want to step into a better life, don't curse it on the way there. So I challenge you this week, audit your speech. Pay attention to every harmless little phrase. Crush the casual negativity. Replace it with words that uplift, strengthen, and guide. You're not behind. You're not weak. You're not doomed. You're one decision away from a new vocabulary and a new reality. Because the moment you start changing how you talk, you begin to change how you think. And once your thoughts shift, your actions follow. Your patterns change. Your life begins to move in a new direction. So today, make that shift. Make the decision to stop speaking against yourself and start speaking yourself forward. Your future is far too precious to be sabotaged by careless conversation. And here's something few people realize. Your words don't reveal who you are. They reveal what you believe. Want to know what someone believes about themselves? Don't look at their resume. Listen to their language. Someone who believes they're worthy of success says, I'll find a way. Someone who doubts themselves says, things never work out for me. Someone who values growth says, I learned something from that. Someone stuck in fear says, that's proof I'll never make it. These phrases aren't random. They come from deep-rooted beliefs. Beliefs that were planted years ago. Some were taught to us. Others we absorbed from the environment around us, without even realizing. So here's the question. What kind of lens are you looking through? Because if the lens inside is cracked, blurry, or broken, then your language will come out distorted too. We uncovered how our words reflect our deepest beliefs, beliefs that often go unnoticed yet quietly shape the course of our lives. But here's the empowering news. Language isn't just a mirror, it's also a tool. And if your reflection doesn't look the way you want it to, you can use your words to reshape it. Most people try to think their way into stronger beliefs. They wait to feel confident, inspired, or fearless before speaking powerfully. But what if there's a better way? What if you could speak your way into belief instead? You don't need to feel courageous in order to speak with courage. You need to speak with courage first, so your confidence has something to grow on. That's why I always say, talk like the person you want to become, not like the version of yourself you've been stuck being. Let's break this down. Imagine someone says, I always mess things up. That might sound like harmless self-talk, but in truth, it's a belief spoken aloud. It reveals that they don't just make mistakes, they believe failure is part of who they are. Now contrast that with, I'm learning from my mistakes. That's not just a new sentence, that's a new belief. One says, I'm doomed. The other says, I'm developing. What you speak is what you expect, and life tends to rise or fall to match your expectations. That's why I always say, don't be casual with your language, because language shapes belief. Belief shapes behavior, and behavior, it shapes your destiny. That's the chain reaction, and it all starts with the words that leave your lips. So let's flip the mirror for a moment and ask, what are you saying about your finances, your health, your relationships, your potential to lead? Are your words soaked in fear, blame, and scarcity, or are they rooted in faith, responsibility, and growth? Let me give you some clear, practical upgrades, belief-filled phrases that shift perspective. Instead of saying, I'm just not good with money, say, I'm learning how to manage my finances more wisely. Instead of, I'm terrible at public speaking, try, I'm building the confidence to speak with clarity and impact. Instead of, I don't know where to start, say, I'm committed to figuring this out, step by step. See the shift? It's the same reality, but a completely different belief, and it all shows in the language. Here's the beautiful twist. Once you change your words, your beliefs begin to evolve. And once your beliefs shift, something incredible happens. You stop shrinking away from life and you start stepping up to it. So today, I want to challenge you. Don't just hear your words, study them. They're telling you a story. And if that story is full of fear, regret, or limitation, then it's time to edit the script. You're not just the narrator of your life. You're also the editor. And every day, you get to rewrite the lines. You can go from, I'll never be enough, to I'm growing into someone I'm proud of. From, everything's against me, to I've been through worse, and I'm still standing. From, I'm stuck, to this is temporary, I'm gaining momentum. Every sentence is a steering wheel. And just like a small turn on the road can change your destination, a few intentional words can shift the entire direction of your life. So here's your assignment. Throughout this week, pay attention to your language. Every complaint, every excuse, every whispered self-judgment. Ask yourself, what belief does this reflect? And more importantly, is that belief serving me or sabotaging me? If it's not helping, replace it. Rewire the words. Reprogram the belief. Speak just a little bit higher, a little bit clearer. Because when your words rise, your life begins to rise with them. And remember, you don't have to feel it before you say it. Speak it first. Let your language lead the way. Eventually, your beliefs will catch up to your voice. So speak like someone who knows their future is bright. Like someone who was born to build something meaningful. Because your words aren't just noise. They're truth in motion. They're not just mirrors of the past. They are blueprints of what's coming next. If you don't like what you see, change the reflection. Start with your words. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly considered the value of a conversation? Most people don't. They treat conversation like background music, something that fills the space between actions, something you do while walking to the car, making coffee, or scrolling through your phone. But the truth is far deeper. Every conversation is an investment. It's either making a deposit into your growth or slowly draining your energy. That's why your next words matter. That's why the people you speak with and the tone you speak in are more powerful than you may realize. They don't just fill time, they shape lives. So if your words have the power to rewrite your beliefs, then the conversations you engage in every day have the power to rewire your environment. Let me ask you, what kind of conversations are you having most often? Are they full of complaints, excuses, gossip, or drama? Or are they rooted in solutions, growth, ideas, and discipline? Because here's what I know for sure. You become the average of the 5 conversations you engage in most consistently. Your words shape your world, yes, but your conversations shape your surroundings. And your surroundings, over time, begin to shape you. Spend enough time with people who are dreaming, planning, and taking action, and you'll start thinking bigger without even trying. But sit too long with people who are constantly blaming, whining, or distracting, and eventually your mindset starts shrinking. It's not just about who's around you, it's about what you're saying together. Let me give you an example. You walk into a room and someone casually remarks, "This place is always a mess." Boom. Tone set. Low energy, low standard, low vision. That's not a conversation, that's contamination. Now contrast that with someone who says, "There's potential here. Let's clean it up and make it better." That's a different energy entirely. That's investment. That's a statement that compounds forward into progress. See, every conversation is either pulling someone forward or holding someone back. And often it's doing both. Not just shaping others, but reshaping you. Here's the honest truth. Some conversations simply aren't worth staying in. Sometimes growth means walking away from cheap talk. If the dialogue is always small, don't be surprised when your vision stays small. If the topics never evolve, neither will your future. So what should you do? Audit your conversations. Who? Are you talking to the most? What are you talking about? And maybe most importantly, how do you feel afterward? Do you walk away inspired, energized, and focused? Or do you leave feeling drained, distracted, maybe even a little bitter? Because just like your money, your time, and your talk are currencies, and you only get so much of them to spend. Spend them wisely. Invest in conversations that create value. But let's flip the mirror. It's not just about listening to better conversations. It's about becoming someone worth listening to. Ask yourself, are my words valuable? Do they build people up, spark ideas, and call others higher? Or are they repetitive, reactive, and forgettable? Because you're not just a receiver in every conversation, you're a contributor, a creator, and an investor. Want better people in your life? Start by being a better conversation. Speak with intention. Speak with clarity. Speak in a way that makes others feel seen, uplifted, and challenged to rise higher. Because you never know, one single conversation can change the entire direction of someone's life. One phrase at the right time can open a door that's been closed for years. One idea, spoken with clarity and confidence, can spark a transformation. And friend, it works both ways. That's why you have to protect the gate. Guard your ears like you guard your goals. Guard your mouth like you guard your finances. Because careless conversation costs. It drains your energy. It steals your focus. It delays your growth. Left unchecked, it can even cost you years of momentum. But intentional conversation? That's different. That pays dividends. It sharpens your perspective. It fuels your direction. It leaves you stronger, clearer, better than before. So here's your call to action. Be deliberate with who you talk to and what you talk about. Stop wasting breath on things you can't control. Start using your voice to shape the things you can. Surround yourself with voices that speak growth. Join in with people who live by discipline, belief, and action. And when you speak, make it count. Because every conversation is either a deposit or a withdrawal, a brick in the wall, or a bridge to something new. When you start treating your conversations like the investments they are, you'll stop wasting them, and you'll start growing from them, one intentional word at a time. Now, let's turn the spotlight onto leadership. Because leadership isn't about position or volume, it's about language. Because at the end of the day, people don't follow noise. They don't follow volume. They follow clarity. They follow purpose. So, let's break it down. What kind of language draws people in and inspires them to follow? And what kind of language quietly pushes people away? First, real leaders speak vision. They don't just comment on what is, they point toward what could be. They declare possibility. They say, here's where we're headed, here's why it matters, here's how we'll get there, together. That kind of language doesn't just inform, it ignites. Vision builds momentum, and people want to be part of something meaningful, something bigger than themselves. When you speak that kind of vision, people don't just join you, they believe in you. Second, true leaders speak responsibility. They don't play the blame game or dodge accountability. When something goes wrong, they say, that one's on me. I missed it, but I've learned, and I'll make it right. That kind of ownership is magnetic. It builds trust, and trust is the true currency of leadership. Show me someone who owns their choices, their words, their impact, and I'll show you someone others want to follow. Third, great leaders speak belief. They don't just manage performance, they awaken potential. They say, I see something in you. You're capable of more. I believe in your strength, even when you don't see it yet. One word of belief, spoken at the right moment, can alter someone's trajectory forever. It can turn hesitation into confidence, doubt into direction. And remember, leadership is not about saying a lot. It's about saying the right thing at the right time. Sometimes it's one sentence, delivered with sincerity, that shifts the atmosphere completely. Now let's talk about what real leaders don't do. They don't lead with fear. They don't threaten with ultimatums like, do this or you're out. That might produce compliance, but never true loyalty. Instead, they speak in possibilities. They say, here's what's expected, here's what's possible, let's rise to it. Because fear can drive behavior for a moment, but purpose sustains commitment for the long haul. And here's a powerful secret. You don't need to feel confident to speak with certainty. You can say, I don't have all the answers yet, but I'm confident we'll find them. That's called confidence in process, and that's real leadership. Now let's not forget tone. Your tone speaks long before your words do. Leaders speak with calm, with conviction, with steadiness. Even in chaos, their voice becomes the anchor in the storm. You don't need to raise your voice to raise your influence. Speak truth, speak direction, speak it firmly, but not forcefully. Speak with strength, not with aggression. There's also power in what leaders don't say. Don't gossip. Don't undercut. Don't hide truth behind sarcasm when clarity is needed. Every time you speak, you're either building trust or breaking it. Because leadership is influence. And influence is built one word, one moment, one tone at a time. So now, the question is, what kind of leader are you becoming? Are your words sharpening your team or softening the standard? Are you speaking life into your family or just barking instructions? Are you casting a compelling vision or merely managing tasks? Real leaders don't just direct people, they lift people. And they do it with language. So here's your challenge. Speak like someone others want to follow. Speak with clarity. Speak with purpose. Speak with belief and ownership. Speak in a way that makes others better simply by being around you. Because here's the result. If you speak like a leader, you'll start living like one. And when you live like a leader, others will follow. Not because they have to, but because they want to. That's the power of leadership through language. And it begins with the next word you choose. Now, let's go one level deeper. Because there's one voice you hear more than any other. The voice inside your own head. But what about the words no one else hears? The silent sentences you repeat in your mind each day? Because here's the truth. The most influential voice in your life isn't someone else's. It's your own. Leaders, winners, builders, visionaries. They all understand one thing, the yay. Words you speak to yourself shape how you show up in the world. Every decision you make, every risk you take, every ounce of confidence you project, it all begins with the way you talk to yourself. So here's a powerful exercise. Ask yourself, if someone else spoke to me the way I speak to myself, would I feel encouraged? Would I feel respected? Would I want to spend time with them? If the answer is no, then something needs to shift. Because here's the unshakable truth. You can't bully yourself into greatness. You can't shame yourself into growth. And you certainly can't insult your way into discipline. That's not how transformation happens. You don't need an inner critic. You need an inner coach. A voice that lifts, not limits. A voice that corrects, but doesn't condemn. One that tells the truth, but does it through the lens of progress, not punishment. And let's be clear, I'm not asking you to lie to yourself. This isn't fairy tale talk. I'm not saying to look in the mirror and chant, "I'm a millionaire," while your bills are stacked on the counter. That's fantasy. What I am saying is, speak with clarity, with purpose, and with truth that fuels growth. Say things like, I may not be where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. I have the discipline to keep showing up. I'm building something worthwhile. I'm learning what I didn't know yesterday. I may not see the full harvest yet, but I'm planting the right seeds. That's not delusion, that's formation. That's how belief is built. Over time, your inner voice becomes your inner strength. Let me ask you a hard question. Would you allow someone to follow you around all day whispering, "You're not smart enough. You always mess things up. You'll never figure this out." Of course not. So why do we tolerate that voice in our own minds? You've got to become the guardian of your own thoughts. Speak life even when you feel tired. Coach yourself when no one's watching. Because the most important leadership you'll ever offer is the leadership you give to yourself. You lead others through your words, but you lead yourself through your thoughts, through how you speak to your fear, through how you speak to your future, through how you speak to your potential. So yes, talk to yourself, but watch what you say. Don't rehearse defeat. Don't narrate failure. Don't give the microphone to fear. Instead, speak faith. Speak progress. Speak purpose. Speak as if your words are shaping your reality, because they are. And when you begin to speak this way, something powerful happens. You no longer need constant motivation from others. Why? Because you become your own source of momentum. You stop waiting for someone else to validate you, because your own voice becomes the firm foundation you stand on. So here's your challenge this week. Track your inner dialogue, catch the doubt, and replace it with determination. Catch the fear, and answer it with focus. Catch the shame, and respond with strategy. Because the person who wins the internal conversation wins everywhere else too. And remember, you are listening to you all day long. Make sure that voice is worth following. And while we're here, let's talk about who's hearing your outer voice as well. Because just like your inner dialogue affects your mindset, the words you speak out loud influence your network, your relationships, and your opportunities. Here's a principle that changed everything for me. Your words will either expand your circle or shrink it. The way you speak determines the rooms you're invited into. It influences the people who are drawn to you, and the ones who quietly drift away. Most people assume networking is about handshakes and business cards. Sure, that's part of it. But true networking, real connection and influence, starts with your words. Your vocabulary is your access card. Have you ever walked into a room where the air felt different? Where the conversation wasn't centered on gossip or complaining, but on vision, discipline, solutions, and impact? That kind of room doesn't happen by accident. It's a culture built by language. But there's another dimension to your vocabulary, the language you speak externally, the words that represent you in the world, in relationships, in rooms you hope to enter. Because here's the truth. You don't just grow into new spaces. You speak your way into them. If you want to be in rooms of vision, strategy, and leadership, you've got to match the language. You can't expect to contribute to high-level conversations with low-level vocabulary. You can't step into discussions about legacy, purpose, and execution if your go-to words are soaked in blame, gossip, or doubt. Let me break it down for you. If your language is filled with complaining and excuses, you'll naturally attract people who live in that same frequency, those who thrive in cycles of blame and stagnation. But when your words are centered on growth, clarity, and conviction, you suddenly become magnetic to those who are building, growing, leading, because people of excellence recognize each other, not just by what they do, but by how they speak. Winners don't say, "This isn't fair." They ask, "What's my next move?" Builders don't say, "Why me?" They ask, "What am I supposed to learn from this?" Professionals don't say, "I'll just wing it." They say, "I've prepared, let's deliver." Your words are like business cards. Every sentence you speak sends a message about your mindset, your standards, and where you're headed. If you want to rise, your language must rise first. Let's make this practical. Start listening to how the people you admire speak. Notice how leaders frame their challenges. Listen to how they describe success, how they ask questions, how they speak with precision. Then ask yourself, do I sound like someone they'd want to talk to? Because here's a hard truth. You can't network your way into excellence if your language doesn't reflect it. You can't speak like someone barely surviving and expect to build relationships with those building legacies. This isn't about using fancy words or industry buzzwords. It's about intentionality. Purposeful words, clear words, words that carry weight. So start training your tongue. Cut out the filler. Replace phrases like, "I'm just surviving," or "whatever happens, happens," with bold declarations, like, "I'm building momentum. I'm preparing for my next level. I'm focused on results." And here's something worth remembering. Every conversation is an audition. You never know who's listening. You never know what door your words might unlock, or what opportunity your language might quietly close. Speak like someone who adds value. Speak with preparation. Speak with a growth mindset, because your network will grow in proportion to your language. Talk like someone with discipline, and you'll attract the disciplined. Talk like a problem solver, and you'll find yourself in rooms filled with solutions. Speak with character, courage, and clarity, and you'll be invited into spaces where those values matter. So here's your challenge. Audit your vocabulary. Ask yourself honestly, would the next level of my life recognize the way I speak? Would the people I want to meet respect the way I communicate? If the answer is no, don't panic. Just upgrade. Because when your words rise, your world begins to rise too. And remember, your next opportunity, your next mentor, your next breakthrough connection may not arrive because of your resume. It might show up simply because of your language. Now let's explore one of the most powerful vocabulary shifts available to us, something so simple yet so transformative it can change your entire perspective. Gratitude. Most people think gratitude is a feeling, but the truth is, it's a language, and once you learn to speak it fluently, your world starts to expand. See, most people wait until life is perfect before they feel grateful. They wait until the bills are paid, their health is flawless, their schedule is calm, and the skies are clear. But winners, they don't wait. They speak gratitude on purpose. Because when you speak gratitude, you're not just noticing what's good. You're multiplying it. You're magnifying what's working. You're training your focus to shift from what's missing to what's meaningful. That's the real shift. And it's powerful. Let me be clear. Gratitude doesn't mean you ignore your challenges. It doesn't mean pretending everything's perfect. It means choosing to see value in the pressure. It means saying, this test is tough, but I'm thankful for the lesson. It's declaring, this growth hurts, but I'm grateful I get to become more. Gratitude is a filter. And once you start using it, you'll start seeing more to appreciate. Let me give you a quick example. One person wakes up and says, "Ugh, I have to go to work." But someone who speaks the language of gratitude says, "I get to go to work. I get to earn. I get to contribute. I get to serve." Same job, same morning, but completely different energy because of different words. Gratitude brings the invisible back into focus. It helps you see the blessings you were starting to overlook. It breathes new life into the ordinary. Let's go a level deeper and address something many people overlook. The way we speak not only shapes our world, it reveals our inner world. You might be tempted to brush this off and think, "Jim, that's just semantics." But I'd tell you, exactly. Because semantics shape emotion, emotion shapes behavior, and behavior, that's what creates your results. Gratitude isn't just about being polite. It's about perspective. It's about power. It's about choosing to see what's good and say what's good, even when life isn't perfect. And here's something else most people miss. Gratitude is magnetic. The moment you start speaking with thankfulness, your energy shifts. And so does the energy around you. You begin attracting better relationships, healthier environments, and deeper connections. Why? Because let's be honest, nobody enjoys being around a constant complainer. But everyone is drawn to someone who appreciates the moment, who notices what's right instead of obsessing over what's wrong. Speak gratitude at work and watch the culture shift. Speak gratitude in your marriage and feel the connection deepen. Speak gratitude within your closest relationships and arguments begin to fade, replaced by encouragement and momentum. And here's the key. Don't wait for something big. Start with the small stuff. Say, "Thank you for showing up." Say, "I appreciate your effort." Say, "I'm grateful for this opportunity, even if it's stretching me." Speak it out loud, write it down, make it part of your daily rhythm, because here's a powerful principle. What you speak, you strengthen. And when you speak gratitude, you strengthen peace, you strengthen joy, you strengthen resilience, and you strengthen relationships that matter. Here's a challenge for the week. Before you complain about anything, say 3 things you're grateful for. Say them aloud. Say them with intention. Even if the day is heavy, especially if it is. Watch how your mood starts to shift. Watch how stress begins to fade. Watch how the problems you once obsessed over begin to shrink as your perspective expands. Because here's the truth. Gratitude isn't weakness. It's wisdom. And if you can speak it in the middle of uncertainty, you'll carry unshakable strength into every circumstance. So don't just feel grateful. Speak it. Make it a habit. Make it your native language. Because gratitude doesn't just lift your mood, it lifts your life. And while we're talking about the power of words, let's look at one more area where language has a massive impact. Yet most people never even think about it. How you talk about others. Let me share with you one of the most overlooked truths in personal growth. When you speak about others, you're always revealing something about yourself. We live in a world where opinions fly fast, where mocking and criticism are the norm, where people tear each other down behind closed doors or in comment sections. But every time you speak about someone else, you're not just describing them. You're also painting a picture of yourself. Let me say it clearly. How you talk about others reflects your character. It reveals your mindset, your maturity, your integrity. You might say, "I'm just being honest." But ask yourself, is it honest or is it harsh? Is it necessary or just noise? Is it helpful or purely hurtful? Because great people don't use their words to tear others down. They use them to build others up. And when correction is needed, they offer it with clarity, not cruelty. With strength, not sarcasm. Want to know someone's level of self-discipline? Don't just watch how they work. Listen to how they talk, especially when the subject isn't. In the room. Small minds gossip. Average minds criticize. Great minds rise above it. Now let's talk about why this matters. When you speak negatively about others, you're not exposing their flaws. You're revealing your focus. You're showing where your energy goes. And often, that means you're avoiding your own growth. But when you speak with respect, even toward those who've failed, when you give credit, extend grace, and lead with compassion, it says far more about your strength than theirs. Here's a better standard to live by. Speak about people as if they were standing right there next to you. If you wouldn't say it to their face, don't say it at all. And if you would say it to their face, say it in a way that builds, not breaks. Speak with the intent to grow truth, not grind it into someone's soul. Now, this doesn't mean you ignore poor behavior. Sometimes things do need to be addressed. But leadership doesn't mean broadcasting the problem to everyone. Real leadership? It means speaking the solution. If someone's underperforming or missing the mark, don't label them as a failure. Don't say, "You always mess things up." Instead, say, "You're capable of more than this. I believe in your potential." There's a massive difference between correction and condemnation. And leaders, they know where that line is. The wise, they walk it with grace. Here's another angle that's rarely discussed. How you talk about people when they're not around determines how much others trust you when they are. If I hear you tearing someone down behind closed doors, it's only a matter of time before I wonder, what are you saying about me when I'm not around? But if I hear you defending someone's dignity, even if you disagree with them, that earns respect because it shows that your loyalty runs deeper than convenience. Let's take it one step further. You attract what you speak. Speak bitterness. You'll find bitterness follows you. Speak envy, and scarcity clings to you. But speak honor, speak belief, speak value into others. You'll begin building a community filled with the very qualities you admire. Words are like seeds. Plant gossip. You grow distrust. Plant blame. You harvest bitterness. But plant encouragement, plant praise. You grow loyalty, strength, unity. So ask yourself, what kind of garden are your words growing? Here's a practical challenge. For the next 7 days, refuse to speak negatively about anyone behind their back. Even if the temptation rises, pause. Choose discipline over drama. Choose maturity over mockery. Even if it's just saying they're working through something or I believe they'll figure it out. That doesn't make you naive. It makes you noble, because at the end of the day, your words become your reputation. And how you talk about others will soon become how others talk about you. Speak with discipline. Speak with integrity. And when in doubt, ask yourself, if someone played back a recording of everything I said about people this week, would I be proud? If the answer is no, change it. Because the mark of maturity is not just how you treat people in public. It's how you speak about them in private. And remember, when you talk about others, you're always saying something about yourself. So make sure it's something worth respecting. Now let's shift to something just as powerful, though much quieter. Silence. In a world where everyone rushes to speak, silence might just be your most powerful sentence. We talk a lot about the power of words, but sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Silence isn't emptiness. It's not weakness. It's not giving up or holding back. In the right moments, silence is wisdom. It's the sound of discipline. It's the sign of strength that doesn't need to shout. It says, I don't need to react. I don't need to win this argument. I choose peace over proving a point. The truth is, most people speak too quickly. They feel discomfort, and they rush to fill the space with noise. They hear tension, and they respond with volume. But real leaders, those who have trained themselves, know when to speak and when to let silence speak for them. Because here's a truth worth remembering. Silence isn't absence, it's presence at a higher frequency. Let me give you a few examples. Sometimes silence is the strongest reply to criticism. Not every insult deserves your energy. Not every accusation needs your defense. You don't have to fight every battle just because someone throws a stone. In fact, the person who can stay silent while others scramble to be heard, that's often the person who carries real power. Sometimes silence earns you more respect than any clever response ever could. There's a kind of quiet confidence that speaks volumes. You don't have to prove you're strong when you already are. And in other moments, silence is how you truly listen. To the people, to the moment, to yourself. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer a moment isn't your opinion, but your restraint. Now, let's build on that idea and talk about one of the most underrated superpowers in relationships, leadership, and communication: the ability to listen deeply. If you truly want to build stronger relationships, here's where it starts. Stop waiting for your turn to speak and start listening to understand. Let the silence between someone else's words be filled with presence, not interruption. Because when people feel heard, they feel valued. And when they feel valued, trust is built. And here's the bonus. When you finally do speak, after really listening, your words carry so much more weight. Sometimes silence is protection. You ever find yourself in a room filled with gossip, drama, and endless criticism? You don't have to engage. You don't have to laugh along to fit in. Silence is your way of saying, "This isn't who I am." And trust me, over time people will notice. More than that, they'll respect you for it. And let's not forget, silence is also a safeguard in moments of emotional intensity. When you're angry, overwhelmed, or under pressure, it's easy to say something you'll regret. But if you pause, if you breathe, if you just give yourself a few seconds of silence, you give yourself something precious, room to respond instead of react. Silence creates space, and in that space, wisdom grows. It's where self-control matures. It's where powerful decisions are born. And here's something you may have never heard before. Silence is a sentence. Sometimes it's the most eloquent one you'll ever deliver. When someone disrespects you and you simply withdraw your energy, that's a sentence. When someone tries to bait you into chaos and you don't reply, that's a sentence. When others speak fear or gossip and you choose peace, that silence echoes louder than any speech. But don't get it twisted. Silence doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you don't have thoughts. It means you've trained yourself to rise above the noise. You've learned that not every thought needs to be said. Not every opinion needs a stage. And not every moment needs your voice. There's strength in restraint. And sometimes the most powerful sentence you'll ever offer is the one you never say. So here's your challenge. Practice strategic silence. Let others go first. Pause before you reply. Decline to join conversations that lower your standard. Let your silence speak confidence. Let it say, "I know who I am, so I don't need to prove it with noise." And when you do choose to speak, make it count. Let your words be measured. Let them be meaningful. Let them be unforgettable. Because the person who knows when to speak and when not to has mastered one of the highest forms of self-leadership. So remember this, silence isn't empty. It's full of wisdom. And often, it's the strongest sentence in the room. Now, let's shift gears. Because once you understand the power of silence, you can begin to wield the power of phrases, the small lines that shape your mindset, your habits, and your future. Here's a secret. Success leaves clues, and many of those. Clues are hidden in the language successful people use every single day. It's not just about what they do, it's about what they say. Because what you say becomes what you believe. And what you believe becomes how you behave. And behavior, over time, becomes a lifestyle. So if you want to shift your direction, start with your daily phrases. Start with the lines you repeat. Start with the mantras that live on your tongue. Because just like lifting weights strengthens your muscles, repeating powerful phrases strengthens your mindset. Let me show you what I mean. Successful people say, "Let's figure it out." Not, "I don't know what to do." That one shift opens doors. It builds momentum. It moves the mind forward instead of shutting it down. Winners don't say, "Why me?" They ask, "What can I learn from this?" That turns a setback into a seminar. Every obstacle becomes a teacher, and wisdom follows. People driven by discipline say, "I said I would." Simple, right? But in a world full of broken commitments and unfinished plans, those 4 words carry incredible weight. I said I would. That's how leaders lead. That's how trust is built. That's how reputations are earned. And here's another one you need to own. This is like me. You've got to learn how to affirm the identity you're building, intentionally, repeatedly. You. Finish a workout. Say it proudly. That's like me. You wake up early when it's still dark outside, whisper it with strength. That's like me. You stay calm when everything around you feels chaotic. Remind yourself, that's like me. Why does this matter? Because you're not just describing your actions, you're aligning with your highest self. These small statements aren't just words, they're identity affirmations. They hardwire your brain with the belief, this is who I am becoming. And as that identity solidifies, your actions begin to reflect it automatically. Speak like the person you want to become, and you'll slowly become that person. It's not magic, it's neuroplasticity, it's habit, it's choice. Here's another phrase worth holding close. It's possible, simple, powerful, limitless. It may not be easy, it may not be clear, but when you declare it's possible with conviction, your mind stops shutting down and starts searching for solutions. This phrase alone has birthed businesses, rebuilt relationships, authored books, launched movements. Because when you believe something is possible, your brain begins to find the path. Now let's talk about a heavier but crucial phrase. I take full responsibility. Most people avoid that one. They prefer to point fingers at the economy, the government, their boss, their upbringing. But the most successful, the most disciplined, the most fulfilled people, they say, I take full responsibility. Not because they're to blame, but because they're in charge. That shift puts power back where it belongs, in your hands. Here's the real truth. Your phrases shape your frame, and your frame, your perspective, determines how you experience the world. You get to decide how to describe your pressure. You get to choose how to interpret a delay. You get to shape how you talk about your goals, your struggles, your growth. So why not train your tongue to speak progress? Here are a few more phrases for your personal power toolkit. Done is better than perfect. I'm a student. I'm always learning. I don't have to know it all, I just have to keep moving. Consistency beats intensity. If I stick with it, it will stick with me. Now maybe you're wondering, does it really matter what I say to myself? Yes. It matters more than you think. Every phrase you repeat becomes a groove in your brain, and enough grooves become a path, a mental road. And where does that road lead? That depends on what you're repeating. Repeat complaints and you'll build a highway to frustration. Repeat self-pity and you'll drive straight toward regret. But repeat ownership, focus, discipline, and you'll arrive at results, growth, and purpose. That's why I suggest building your own phrase bank. Write down 10 power phrases that reflect who you want to be, not who you've been. Say them daily, out loud, especially on the hard days. Don't wait until you feel motivated. Say them until you become them. You can rewire your identity with your words. You can craft habits, beliefs, and behaviors one sentence at a time. Never forget, success isn't just built in what you do, it's built in what you say, what you repeat, what you reinforce. So choose your phrases like your future depends on it, because in many ways, it does. Now, let's take this one step further. Have you ever realized you're always having a conversation with your future? Yes, every word you speak, every phrase you repeat, every belief you reinforce, it's a message you're sending forward in time. You're not just talking to the moment, you're writing the script of the days ahead. Your mouth isn't just a mirror of the past, it's a megaphone to your future. Every complaint, every excuse, every declaration doesn't just echo now, they land ahead of you. And one day, you'll walk straight into them. So ask yourself, what kind of future are you speaking into existence? Most people speak from history, what's happened, what failed, what they fear. But if your language is trapped in the past, how can your future look any different? Winners speak in advance. They don't wait for the victory to show up before they sound like winners. They speak like it's already on the way. They say things like, I'm building something meaningful. I'm learning how to lead. I'm preparing for financial freedom. I'm becoming someone worth following, not because it's already fully true, but because it's the road they've chosen to walk. We talked about speaking to your future, the idea that every phrase you choose today becomes a stepping stone for the path ahead. Now let's dive deeper into how language doesn't just reflect your mindset, it leads it. Your words walk ahead of you like trail markers in the forest. They shape the path before you even take the first step. Say, I'm a disciplined person, and your brain begins aligning with that identity. Say, I always mess things up, and don't be shocked when your actions start proving you right. Because here's the truth. The future doesn't just happen to you. It's something you speak into existence, one sentence at a time. This isn't about pretending or fantasizing. It's not self-deception. It's about framing, about being honest with where you are, but refusing to stay stuck there. You can say, I'm not there yet, but I'm on my way. You can say, I've got work to do, but I've also got the grit to do it. When you speak like that, it's as if the next level can hear you, and it starts coming closer. So here's the big question. Are you speaking survival, or are you speaking strategy? Are you repeating limitations, or are you declaring forward, movement, even if it's slow and unsteady? Because one principle always holds true. The words you rehearse today become the reality you live tomorrow. Say, nothing good ever happens to me, and the world tends to fall in line. But say, something good is coming, and you'll find your eyes and your actions start searching for it. Why? Because your focus follows your language, and your future follows your focus. So I challenge you. Treat your words like a letter you're writing to your future self. Speak in a way that your future self will thank you for. Say things like, I'm building something worthwhile. I'm not waiting for change, I'm creating it. I'm not perfect, but I'm progressing. One step, one choice, one day at a time. Say these often enough, and soon your confidence grows, your habits shift, and your vision sharpens. Suddenly, your reality starts looking more and more like the future you've been declaring all along. But remember, this works both ways. If you constantly say, I'm just tired, I'm stuck, I can't catch a break, then don't be surprised if the future waiting for you feels small, stagnant, and filled with the same frustration you've been rehearsing. Your future is shaped by the voice you use today. So train it, direct it, respect it. You're already in a conversation with your life. Why not say something worth walking into? And if you ever feel overwhelmed by where to start, here's the simplest step. Speak one sentence today that your future can build on. Just one. It could be, I'm planting seeds. I'm building character. I'm developing skills I'll need soon. I'm no longer waiting for change. I'm speaking it into motion. Because the people who achieve the most, the ones who inspire others, the ones who grow through every challenge, they didn't just dream big. They spoke with intention, and then they matched their words with disciplined action. Speak boldly. Speak with clarity. Speak as if your future is listening, because it is. And now, let's bring it all together. We've spent this journey talking about words, not just as noise or decoration, but as tools, as seeds, as weapons, as anchors. And if there's one truth that ties it all together, it's this. If you can master your mouth, you can master your life. Because words are how you frame your world. They're how you build your mindset, influence others, respond to hardship, and shape the atmosphere around you. Want to elevate your mindset? Shift your vocabulary. Want to grow your business? Refine your communication. Want to strengthen your relationships? Speak words that build, not break. Nothing reveals your character faster than your language. And nothing accelerates your future more than your speech. Every sentence you speak is either construction or destruction. Either planting belief or reinforcing fear. Either leading you forward or anchoring you in place. And here's the beautiful part. You're not a prisoner of your words. You're the author. You get to choose the next sentence. You get to reshape the tone. Starting now. So ask yourself one more time. What kind of story are you telling the world with your words? Are you broadcasting doubt or breathing life? Are you echoing old wounds or declaring new strength? Are you repeating your past or authoring your future? Because the life you're living today is the echo of the words you spoke yesterday. And the life you'll live tomorrow, it's already tuning in to what you're saying right now. So here's your final challenge. Talk like someone who's going somewhere. Speak like your words are shaping your destiny, because they are. Choose statements that align with your vision. Declare progress, not pity. Speak possibility, not just pain. And when the choice is unclear, choose silence over sabotage. Because the person who learns to command their tongue, who leads with language, who sows belief with speech, that person becomes unstoppable. So don't wait. Don't wish. Speak. Speak life. Speak purpose. Speak gratitude. Speak discipline. Speak faith. Speak courage. And then go live what you spoke, because in the end your mouth is not just a tool. It's a gateway. And when you master it, you master everything else. So, here we are, at the end of this journey, but perhaps the beginning of a far greater one. You've just spent the last few minutes not just listening to words, but stepping into a higher standard. A standard where language isn't just something you use, it's something you master. Because the truth is simple, the person who commands their words commands their world. Every sentence you speak is a choice. Every phrase is a brick. You're either building a future that pulls you forward or reinforcing the limits that hold you back. So what will it be? Will you speak with purpose? Will you choose discipline over doubt, vision over victimhood, belief over blame? Because the next version of you, the stronger, wiser, more courageous you, is already listening. And that version is waiting for one thing, for you to start speaking like they already exist. So don't just dream it. Don't just, wish it. Speak it. Live it. Be it. Because when you master your mouth, you don't just change your words. You change your life.